between Soyuz and shuttle is that the shuttle is by NASA and they have a 7-member crew and they land just like a normal aeroplane, but a Soyuz is much smaller in size. It can fit only 3 people. It belongs to the Russian and it's very small, it is very tiny. In fact, you can't be too tall if you go into the Soyuz. You can't be more than 99 centimeters from your vortex to your coccyx bone. I was actually saved by 3 centimeters. So for you, Shay, forget about going to space. The shorter you are, actually, the better, because the Soyuz is very, very small. In Russia, we trained for a year. The first problem that we had is the Russian language. The Russians are very proud of their language. They're very bold of their history, culture, and language. If you can't speak Russia, they will not accept you as a friend. So we had to master Russia, because this is a language used in space. My background is more of medicine. I'm a surgeon. So these are new things that I had to learn. I was with brother Salama. He's working in JPL. And I went to JPL the other day. So these are all about astronomy. We had to learn about calculations and so on. Because everything is based on calculation. Everything is based on physics. We had to undergo winter survival in Siberia, where they put us in Siberia for 3 days with a temperature of minus 45 degrees Celsius. We were freezing. I come from a land of hot and humid, from Malaysia, and when we are in Siberia, we were just freezing. I remember I had to chop off woods every single hour just to make sure my body is kept warm. We were also sent to the sea survival in Ukraine at the Black Sea, where we were placed into the Soyuz, changed into 5 clothings, and jumped into the sea for 3 days, floating around for 3 days. So these are all the tests done to make sure, in case the Soyuz lands in the jungle, in case the Soyuz lands in Siberia, in the sea, we are able to survive for at least 3 days before the rescue team comes over. 10 October 2007 was a memorable, was a historical day, not just for me, but to all the Malaysians and to all the Islamic people all over the world. Everyone is so excited. The Soyuz takes 8 minutes and 48 seconds to launch from Kazakhstan to the orbit. And at the orbit, we had to rendezvous for 2 days before we docked to the International Space Station. Many people think still I went to the moon. I did not go to the moon. We went to the ISS, International Space Station, where it's owned by the Russians, the Americans, the Canadians, the Japanese, and 14 European countries. The ISS is always 400 kilometers above Earth, going on rendezvous for hours and hours and on and on. When I went to space, it's important for me, we do missions, experiments. That is the reason why I go to space. So we conduct many scientific experiments, like cancer cells, like bacteria in space, like protein crystallization. I also work with the Japanese Space Agency and the European Space Agency, conducting many, many experiments for the benefit of mankind. I'm hoping to find a cure for cancer, for bone diseases, for osteoporosis, and many, many other diseases for the benefit of mankind, inshallah. I am actually the 9th Muslim who has gone to space. There are other more Muslims before me. The first was actually the nephew of King Abdullah, who went in 1985. And there are many other Muslims who has gone to space. But this is the first time that we stress on the importance of Islam in space. I've always told myself, I'm trying to reach out to the world that we have to do our responsibilities as Islam no matter where we are. Either we are on earth or in space. But the problem is no one knows how to pray in space. Every 45 minutes the sun goes up. Every 45 minutes the sun goes down. So by right you have to pray 80 times a day. So Malaysia, for the first time as an Islamic country, we had meetings with all the ulama all over the world, with Iran, with US, in Saudi, to find out guidelines on how to pray in space. So we came up with a guideline. We still pray 5 times a day according to our launching site. We still pray Zohor, Asar, Maghrib, Isha, still according to Kazakhstan time. How do we take wudu? We were taught to bertayammum because water is very precious in space. You can't simply have showers and so on. So we were taught to bertayammum and twice on the walls. 1 time and cover your face, and 2nd time on both your hands. I will show some videos later how I pray and so on in space. And to face the Qiblat, facing the earth is sufficient. You don't have to find out where the Qiblat is and so on. But when you pray, you have to strap both your legs. And you can't sujood for too long, because if you sujood for too long, your body starts floating upwards and so on. So it's very interesting when you're in space, because everything is microgravity. The first time when I saw Earth for the first time from space, I felt so close to Allah. I felt so close to God. Many years I've been searching for my soul. I feel there is an emptiness in my soul. I went to Afghanistan in 2002 doing humanitarian aid, building hospitals and helping the people of Afghanistan. I went to Cambodia in 2003 doing humanitarian aid for the Islam people in Cambodia, always searching for an emptiness in myself. When I was in space, I felt I found my soul in space. I felt so happy in space, I didn't want to come back. When I saw how tiny the Earth is, how beautiful the Earth is, and how huge the galaxy is, I felt I have goosebumps. My hairs are all over goes up. My heart stops beating. My eyes doesn't even blink. And every time you look out at Earth, every time you see Earth, you get the same feeling. It's not that, oh, I've seen Earth. It's every single time you get the feeling of God's creation in space. And I do feel so close to God when I was in space. 3 hours before coming back, I didn't want to come back. I was very sad to come back because I felt that I was born for space. And I heard azan from the ISS. It was the most beautiful, magical sound I've heard in my life. And I have realized that it's time for me to come back. It's time for me to share my experience with everyone else in the world. When I came back, we had a ballistic re-entry. We had an emergency landing. I remember when we entered the atmosphere, we were tumbling and turning for about 10 to 15 minutes, and we had to undergo 9 G loads, 9 times your body weight pressing on your chest. You just cannot breathe. It's like putting an elephant on your chest. But we were trained to breathe using our abdomen. This is how we overcome our 9 G loads. When I came back to Earth, I can't even lift my hand. It was too heavy because I was so used to microgravity. When you are in space, your body changes. You undergo adaptations. Men are made for Earth, but when you go to space, we undergone through many physical changes. Even on day 3, day 4, your muscles become shrink, your muscles become atrophied, your bones become brittle, and so on. 1 day in space is equivalent to 5 times chest X-ray radiation on Earth. So there are many things that we have to undergo through. Every 3 months, I have to go back to Russia, and I have to undergo through a thorough medical examination to make sure that everything is back to normal. But I feel great. I think I am back to normal right now. So what is my job now? For me to go to space is easy. It's such an easy task. But the bigger task is to come back and to change the mindset of the younger generation. And I know I can't change the mindset of the adults because most of them are already fixed their mind. So my focus is more on the children. I have so many children who want to go to space now. In fact, when I was in Corona, I was most of the mosques in San Jose, in San Diego. The children get very excited to go to space. If I could change one single human being a day, I get the most fullest satisfaction in my life. This is what I want to do. And I'm going to show you some videos on how to pray in space. First, can you show me the Islam in space? Yeah, click on that. And wudu, yeah? This is how I take my tayammum in space.